Oh my gosh, why isn't this working? Is a phrase that you might find yourself saying if you get into the drones and RC and 3D printing hobbies, but it's okay. It's okay. I know it can be so frustrating sometimes, but don't worry, we're here to help. Myself and everybody else in the chat. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody. Welcome back to another Q&A session. RC with Adam here. My name is Adam, and what I like to do is try to help you not feel those feelings of rage and frustration that oftentimes accompany technological problems, like getting a drone to work, getting a 3D printer to work, and all that kind of stuff. So I wish I had all of the answers for you and could just snap my fingers and fix all your problems. That's probably not going to happen. Maybe, but probably not. But at least for a little while, right now, you and I can work together on solving your problems. So leave your questions or maybe just comments, but leave your questions that you have down in the chat, in the comments section down below, and we'll see if we can sort some of those things out for you. Because, you know, sometimes like you can save so much time and money just by asking a real person a real question and getting a real response real fast in real time. Okay, so that's what we try to do here. That's what I try to do here. It's a one-man show today, as always, pretty much as always. Hopefully not forever, though. We'll see about that. But welcome. We are live on Instagram and YouTube. I was going to say Facebook, not Facebook. We don't really hang out there too much. But if you want to see us on Facebook, let us know. But Instagram, YouTube, welcome. I see we've got some people on the Instagram side. We've got some people on the YouTube side. Animate Fun, always here, always welcoming. Says, how are you? Right now, I am doing great. How are you doing? Flying Butter says, yo. Flying Butter, always a classic. Jeff says, hey, welcome, Jeff. And Flying Butter says, I got jump scared. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to jump scare you. I just wanted to, really transfer or, transmit that emotion that we all feel sometimes when things aren't working well. And I try to remember that because it's very easy to forget about that. When you've been doing all this stuff for a while, and then you learn all these things and how to fix problems and stuff. And so it's easy to forget how frustrating some of even the simplest things can be. But you know what? With technology, because technology is always changing, it's always coming out with new stuff, and things are working and not working and whatnot. The feeling kind of never really goes away. It usually gets more and more brief because you know more ways of solving problems. So that's kind of how that goes. So didn't mean to jump scare you, but I'm glad that you're here. Glad that was effective. All right. So hey, if you want to just say hey in the chat, let us know where you're watching from. If you want to, I know some of the regulars I remember, but it's always nice to kind of, it's a little icebreaker, I guess. Otherwise, just put in your questions. You got questions about drone stuff, 3D printing stuff. We'll see what we can do. Some of it I might know, some of it we might be learning together. So, we'll see what did I want to cover today? I don't remember, but there are so many fun things that we could cover. I think I was going to look up something about 3D printing stuff. Hey, Jeff is from Switzerland? That's crazy. I don't even, is anybody, I don't know if, seems like most of my viewers, especially live viewers, are from other countries. I am in America, in the United States. But Switzerland, that's really cool. I've always wanted to go to Switzerland. I'm sure it's not all everywhere as amazing as it seems like it would be, but Seems pretty amazing, though, to be honest. Because I live in a swamp, pretty much. So, amazing mountains seems kind of cool. So, I am going to look something up here, I think, that we can talk about together. Or at least something that I was thinking about. Flying Butter says I have an FPV. Nice. I have an FPV friend from Switzerland. That's pretty cool. That seems like a really cool place to do FPV, especially long range FPV. That'd be very cool. Super cool. We have Aleph. Aleph is back. Welcome. He asks, how are you? I am doing well. I am doing well. Well. I hope you guys are doing well also. It's been so long since we talked. I think like 24 hours. So Jeff says, come over. Let's what is it? I can't read all of it, but it says, let's do some FPV and 3D printing. I might take you up on that. I don't know. It could happen. That could happen. That seems like a lot of fun. Tell you what, why don't we just to kick things off, I'll share my screen here. Why don't we just do a little recap of some of the things that we've been talking about? Because I usually look stuff up, and then in this like browser, and I have a bunch of tabs, and some of the tabs I keep open to remember. So, was it yesterday? I can't remember. It all blends together. It doesn't really matter. Previously, we were talking about Tiny Whoops, the Tiny Whoop class of drones, and it was, I believe it was Flying Butter who recommended the Beta FPV Air 65. It's a little 1S drone, and I'm debating whether I would want to get that in analog or spend the extra bucks and get it in the DJI 04 Air unit, or or HD0, because I don't know. I like HD0, but I don't know. That's a whole other topic that I have to get into here. I just noticed there's an option if you want. It says propulsion system. You have racing or you have freestyle. So what difference? Interesting. So racing. It looks like racing. You have larger propellers or more aggressive propellers. And then freestyle, you have, well, when I say aggressive, I mean, I'm talking about like the pitch or the angle, but also it looks like these are just a fatter blade, a longer cord, if you will, which is the thickness basically of the blade. I don't know if the motors are changing or not. Maybe it says. That's probably a good question. As far as a question for you guys, like Flying Butter, what kind of props do you like, or does it really make a difference with Tiny Whoops? That's a good question. Place Bow, tell me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. It says, hello, I recently blow up my ESC and motors due to corrosion on the ESC. I would like to coat the next stack. What coat do you suggest? That's a good question. So, so my question to you is, are you flying, so it was due to corrosion. Is it like, were you flying like in a wet environment, like fog or rain, or do you know that it got wet, or is it just kind of like the humidity in the air? I'm just curious about that. And then also if you're near the ocean. But in any case, typically, like, I don't know about lately, but I know the go-to is conformal coating, clear conformal coating. I did some videos about waterproofing drones a while back. And I just reminded myself, we got the giveaways going on, so go check out the giveaways. We got 6 videos so far, 6 giveaways out of 12. So go check those out. Go comment on those on YouTube. So yeah, conformal. You could definitely use conformal coating. I think conformal coating is probably still the go-to for moisture protection, water protection on electronic boards, unless you are planning to be submersing them and like actually dunking them in water, especially while they're running. So I would check out the conformal coating. I can't remember what it's called. I know I have a video about it here somewhere. There's also, gosh, what was the other stuff that I used? You could use like either something that's purpose built for drones, like FPV worry free. Here we go. So this one I tested. I think I tested Code King. So let's open that in tab. So
let's go, Brandon. Good job.
So here we go. So I did this testing. Blah, 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 blah. You can watch the video for yourself. I'm not going to play it here, but so I have a video where I was comparing FPV worry free compared to Coat King, and then which I think Coat King disappeared. I think it was like a kind of a fly by night FPV drone product, which is pretty common. And then wait, no, that was just those two, and then this one was Coat King, which is very similar to FPV worry free, compared to the MG Chemicals 422C silicone conformal coating, and comparing it to glue stick as well. So a lot of the comments on here were saying that I didn't do the conformal coating properly. So like this says, instruction says it skims something and skims in the amount of time you have left. This is a chart on its cure time. At room temperature, it's at least 24 hours. So he says you were probably too fast before submerging it. That could be the case. But yeah, that's so probably conformal coating. Otherwise, you can just use like silicone, electronic silicone. Let me check, see if I have some. Okay, because as you may know, waterproofing drones is something that has kind of been a little side quest of mine. So I have used this stuff it seems to be pretty effective. This is what is this called? 388 electronic grade silicone. This is made by American Sealants Incorporated. Oh, let me put the camera on. There we go. That's what that looks like. So I've used this stuff to seal flight controller boards and ESC boards. Seems to work well. Says it's safe for electronics. Yeah, I did a bunch of testing, and then I kind of like, I don't really remember what the results were because I didn't really like make a video about them. And then also I was thinking about playing around with this stuff. This is silicone putty. And I was thinking about like, oh boy. Oh, things are just falling over in the background. I was thinking about using the silicone putty to basically like smush around a flight controller. It says it resists high temperatures and it has excellent dielectric strength. So I'm not sure if that would like seal in the heat and be a problem, or if it's able to resist the heat and just get hot with it, and if it could act like a heat sink possibly. So either of those would be good options. Oh boy. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a mess. That's a mess. Okay. That is okay, that's a big mess now that I need to clean up. Okay. Anyway, yes, moving on. But that's a good question. Aleph says, bro, today my RC plane flew. Nice. What kind of RC plane is it? That's always very exciting. Did you build it yourself, or did you just, or I shouldn't say just buy one, but either build it or buy it. Jeff says probably motor KV about the tiny whoop difference between the motors. I'm trying to get better about like not being super laggy behind like what we're talking about, so that way, and also reading your comments and making it relevant. You know what I'm saying? I think I need it. If I could get it so it like reads it to me, that would probably be helpful. But yeah, so talking about the difference between the propulsion system, the racing versus freestyle. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but most likely you would have a higher KV for racing, yeah, and then lower for freestyle. As we talked about, I think yesterday, talking about motors, I like a lower KV because my thinking is that basically, even though you don't have as much potential speed or potential thrust, it takes that and spreads it out along the throttle range, so you have more finer control feeling. And Flying Butter says, I like the freestyle props. By the way, they are HQ ultralight. So yeah, I like them better, but racing version has higher KV motors. I like them because they are really light, so it's better for racing. At least for me, is what he says. Place Bow says, I fly usually in grassy, dirty zone, but if I can, I definitely would fly in snow and near watery zone. And it says I can pronounce it Place Bow. Place Bow or Place Bow. Bow like a boat or bow like a bow tie. Isn't that interesting? Place Bow. It's probably bow. I'm gonna say it's bow. Place Bow. All right. Oh yeah. The just all my stuff was falling over in the background because I had like a tray with a bunch of bits on it and stuff, and it just fell over. But I really need to take all that stuff out and sort it and organize it, and probably print more of those desk organizers like we were talking about yesterday. That would be. I need to do that. We should probably make it like a project video just for funsies, and then we can kind of all build one. We'd have matching desk organizers. Aleph says about his airplane, it's a handmade F-16 with 2300 kV BLDC motor, which stands for I can't remember what does that stand for? BLDC. Oh, it sounds really familiar, but like it's like a ducted, right? Like a ducted fan style, like a jet, right? Yeah, that's cool. Well, congratulations on that. That's pretty neat. It is, isn't it always such a great feeling to build an airplane or a drone, and you're like, I don't know if it's gonna work. It should work, and then it does, and it's great. It's great. Flying Butter says, I think 27 kV is the best for 65 millimeter whoop racing. Do you mean 2700? Or is it even more than that? Because those little ones get way up there. I don't know. But yeah, because they don't really give the actual kV on these motors, I don't think. Or do they? Sometimes I just don't read well when I'm doing this live, so I don't pay all attention. Propulsion system. There we go. Okay, racing version uses the 0702 SE2 27,000 kV motors. Holy smokes. That's a lot. That's 27,000 rotations per minute per volt. And it's 1 volt, so that's what it is. That's crazy. Of course, that's maximum, but and those props for incredible speed burst and agile steering for smooth and elegant freestyle experience. They use the 0702 SE motors. Yeah, same motors. 23,000 kV and HQ ultralight props, which I think is what you were saying. Aleph says BLDC motor means brushless motor. Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Brushless. I just couldn't remember like brushless. Oh, you mean brushless brushless DC motor, as in BL brushless DC motor. That makes more sense. I was just having a little pause on my brain working there. That looks really cool. Yeah, I think that's the analog version. I need to like bookmark that or something. Well, I'll remember, right? Because we've been going over all this stuff. But what about the HD version? Let's do DJI. Then there's the Pavo Pico, which that's pretty cool. So the thing is like if you put I'm curious how this flies. See, like I wouldn't want the 04. Is this the Pro Air unit or no? I don't think it's the Pro Air unit. Yeah, that looks pretty legit. It's got a carbon fiber frame. So that's, this is really in a different class, I would say. I mean, because you're doing, well, you have to include the cost of that. We got an XT30. Yeah, so this is really a different class of drone. This is I have something like this that I use for like professional filming jobs. So not just like ripping around having fun. And that's kind of what I would see something like this being, because it is well, obviously it's more expensive, but you could also use larger batteries, and also it's not, it's not going to be as light and not as quiet. That's the big thing too, because huge difference when you add some weight to a drone, you add, multiple cell battery and all that stuff, it really makes it louder. So that's really the key to having a quiet drone is basically oh, that's cool how they have like the brackets there. But the key to a quiet drone is to have it be lightweight and have a lot of surface area for the props, like disk loading, basically a low disk loading. Because if you think about it, the lighter it is, the more air, the less air that it has to actually push. Hey, look at this. This is what we were talking about yesterday. This is what we were talking about with, well, kind of what we were talking about being able to swap out the DJI cameras. And so it looks like they have the whole frame system by itself. And then what sits on top is actually the air unit portion. I respect that. I respect that design because that seems pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting. So then they're saying if you want to use bigger batteries, you can just cut that mount, put a strap through. So yeah, a little DIY there, but that's actually kind of cool. Flying Butter says Happy Model has better Whoop motors. Beta FPV motors are kind of bad. And then of course there's the tiny Whoops that are like brushed, the brushed tiny Whoops. He says if you want to fly just for fun, not for video, just get analog or HD0. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Because, well, if you think about it, well, I know we kind of got onto this Pavo Pico talking about kind of a different thing entirely. But talking about the Cinewhoops, if you have a Cinewhoop, where'd it go? There we go. So if you have a Cinewoop, this is $120 roughly. That's the cost of the DJI Air unit, which apparently at this time may not be accessible in the United States with the whole DJI ban thing. I need to look into that. As we spoke about yesterday, I need to get up on that and kind of actually find a reliable source and see what's what, because there is so much hype and fear mongering and all this stuff. So it's hard to cut through all that. So even talking about the Cinewoops, okay, I can't pull up this page for some reason. I don't know why. Weird. Anyway, my point there was basically just that, when you go digital, you're going to be paying that same price over again. I think it was about 130 or so, just for the FPV system. So, and it's going to add a bit more weight. And for this tiny of a drone, that little bit of weight is going to make a difference. So you're really kind of getting into a whole different area. Flying Butter, my question to you, talking about Whoop motors, is what would you say about like brushed versus brushless? Like, is it worthwhile to go with the brushed motors, or should you just go brushless? And for anybody who's wondering what I'm talking about, brushed motors are usually cheaper, and I guess probably like smaller and lighter, but they are not as powerful as brushed motors, and they don't last as long. They wear out more easily and burn out more easily. Flying Butter says, if you want the best feeling Whoop, get the Air 65 and Happy Model 0702 26,000 kV motors, and change the Beta FPV motors. Okay. Does Happy Model make a drone with those motors that are ready to go, so you don't have to change them out? Because obviously I could change them out, but it would be nice if they just came that way. Because then I'd have 4 Whoop motors, and what am I going to do with those? I guess build another Whoop. That one looks like it has the BT2 connector, which is better than the old style of the what do they call that? The JST connector, I think is what it was. Let me see about that. Let's look those up. Happy Model. You said it's the 0702 motor. And SE. So I think the KV is just different here. You said 2600 kV brushless. Yeah. The lightest brushless motor motors all over the world. The weight is only 1.46 grams. That's crazy. It's crazy. Flying Butter says, I think they do, but the Air 65 frame is super good. Yeah, I guess, that's kind of how it goes. Yeah, sometimes you gotta kind of pick and choose, or or just build your own, I guess. Because I guess you could just build, at that point, maybe I would just build it. Maybe I'd just build the whole thing. Maybe I'd just get these motors. 4 motors, 5 motors. You always gotta have a spare. And then the Beta FPV Air 65 frame. So there's the frame. That's crazy, right? It's only, wait, no, that's Air 65 2. Is that the same one? Or is that 2, or is that like a little divider thing? I can't tell. Is this the same frame? Because if it is, you can get the frame for $7. That's pretty cool. And then you could pick which color you want. I would want kind of like clear, but I like that ice blue. Gotta go with ice blue. Sure. And the all-in-one board. Yeah. Kevin Smith says same but better. Kevin Smith, what are you talking about? Same but better. What is same but better? The motors we're talking about. So that would be, are we Beta FPV Air 65 AIO AIO AIAIO. Mm, 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 mm. So that is the air brushless flight controller 5-in-1 G34. So, ooh, Beta FPV make this, I guess. Oh wait, that doesn't come with a canopy. Oh, then you'd have to get the canopy. So, yeah, I see. Okay, so maybe that wouldn't be worthwhile. Maybe you just buy the drone, swap out the motors, and then I guess you have the motors as spares. Maybe that makes more sense. Oh, Flying Butter says the 2-frame is better than the one, the one model or model 1 or whatever it is. So the Lava one has battery. Okay. Yeah, that would probably be the thing to do. Honestly, I should probably just get this dude and then just fly it until like the motors break or something, or until I feel like, spending what, $50 or something, $65 to get 5 more new motors. That might be a better option. Or do you know what I should also do? I should probably just find all the parts that I have laying around for micro drones and build a micro drone. That's probably what I should do, and then just fly it. And then I can upgrade it and actually in good conscience be like, yes, I fly this all the time. I totally know, now I know what I want to get. So that's what I would say to you folks as well is don't get too hung up. Don't get too hung up on finding like the exact right part, or I got to get this motor, or because like what Flying Butter is saying here is I believe I'm sure that it's true that those motors work better than the Beta FPV motors, but it would be silly to be like, well, I can't fly this drone unless I have those motors. So that's something to keep in mind. But it's also good to know if you do need to replace the motors to have a good upgrade. Flying Butter says, I'm testing the 5-in-1 AIO, all in one. That's the flight all-in-one flight board that we were talking about. He says, and it has been really good. I'm just wondering, why is it called the 5-in-1? Maybe I should read this. So they're saying 5-in-1, I guess because it's the ESC. It's the, well, no, is that why they're saying? Because there's 4 ESCs and it's the flight controller. The VTX is on board. Wow. Okay, so that's why they're saying, maybe that's why they're saying it's 5-in-1. That's interesting. Yeah, so it's not a separate system. I got you. Yeah, that is incredible. That's very cool. Very, very cool. So it makes me wonder, like, what if, if we're talking about like for filming purposes for a micro drone, like what if you took basically these components and you put the 04 air unit on there. Not air unit, the the Air 4 04 Pro version. Like, would that be better than something like the Pavo? I think it was the Pavo Pico. There's some different ones. The Cinnabot that looks heavy. I don't know. Maybe it is Pavo 20. You got the Pavo 20, that's a 2-inch, and then I think the whole deal is like the Pavo Pico, the Beta FPV, the Meteor 65, that one has the 04 unit. Yeah, I'm just thinking that could be really interesting because there are times you when you need something that is very, very small and with prop guards to fit into a certain space or for safety or whatever. So that could be cool. But I mean, yeah, just kind of looking at this, what is the weight here? So the weight, oh, wow, oh, wow. So the weight on this is 53 grams with the 04 version. So the 39 grams for the plug and play version. And that, I think they're saying, are they saying the receiver or, because that would be, oh, plug in the receiver version, I guess they're saying, but then they say for the 53 grams for the 04 version, which I guess you could also use that. You could use that as a receiver if you had the DJI transmitter. All right, let me catch up here. Flying Butter says no because the motors are too small. Kevin says the 04 Pro is too heavy for a 65. Would you say so? I mean, and when we say 65, we're talking 65 millimeters, right? 65 millimeters. I mean, they have it on this guy, right? Am I reading that correctly? 65 millimeter brushless whoop. I guess that's not the Pro version. I guess that's what I was saying. It's not the Pro version. Because if we go to the DJI page, where was it? Talking about the Pro version. I'm really curious about the video quality on this thing. Say, so the 32 grams. Yeah, that's crazy when you think about like that's like more than double, or that's about double the weight of like the other one that we were looking at, the Air 65. And then, oh wow, I didn't realize the difference was so big. So the 04 Air unit that is not the Pro, that's 8.2 grams. So that's basically, I think it's actually lighter than what people have been doing. No, I'm sure it's lighter because the camera is different. It has a different camera housing. That's even lighter than what people had been doing with taking the 03 Air units apart and then stripping them down to make a naked 03 Air unit, as they call it. Wow, that's a big difference. But as we talked about previously, 32 grams for something that you could get really good quality video on and it be your FPV, that's crazy compared to like a 150 or so gram GoPro. That's nuts. Yeah. Okay, thanks for the info, guys. That is intriguing. Now, you say it's too heavy, but I mean, is it too heavy? It's too heavy for like agile maneuvering, but I wonder, I'm not sure what the thrust to weight ratio would be on that. That'd be interesting to find out though. Just in the sense that for a lot of times the stuff that you do with micro drones, if you're filming, yes, if you're like filming something and you're trying to capture a subject, you're not going to be doing like racing type moves and stuff or necessarily going very fast. Typically not very fast. But yeah, for a 1S, that might be a bit much. Probably something like a 2S would be even better. Yeah. Good info. Good info. Over on Instagram, hopefully I didn't miss any questions. Trying not to ignore you guys, but welcome. I think I recognize some of those names. Thanks for tuning in. And let me get a drink of water here. And yeah. And if you are just joining us, welcome. My name is Adam, and this is RC with Adam. And we're here to help you solve your drone and 3D printing problems. Hopefully, totally solve them, but at least point you in the right direction. And a lot of times, that is like half the battle, just getting pointed in the right direction. So, if you have questions about drones, 3D printing, RC aircraft, maybe you're a beginner, maybe even some photography stuff or videography stuff, I should say, because I have done quite a bit of that. Let us know. Let us know. Jump in the chat. Welcome. You're welcome to jump in the chat on Instagram and YouTube. We are going live right now all over the world. Lithuania, Switzerland, probably Mexico, maybe Canada. I mean, who knows? Who knows where we might be popping up all over the world. Amazing. Amazing. So right now we were just looking at Cinewhoops. No, Tiny Whoops, not Cinewhoops, Tiny Whoops. And just talking about some of those aspects and stuff because I want to get into Tiny Whoops. Because Tiny Whoops, you can have a lot of fun with Tiny Whoops. Let's go back to the screen here. Yeah, so we were talking about that. You know, interestingly enough, again, so let's talk a little bit kind of concepts and I'll put this guy back on the screen, just I guess something to look at. So talking about concepts and stuff, how we were previously talking about how I believe the 5-inch drone is on the way out. And again, it's not this big thing of like, oh, I don't like 5-inch drones or you shouldn't use them. That's not what I'm saying. The point is that the technology has gotten so much better that we don't have to use larger 5-inch drones to carry cameras and to film in whatever quality you would want to, or to go a certain distance and that sort of thing. And whether it's freestyle or well, I guess racing is kind of, you wouldn't have a GoPro on there anyway, but either freestyle, you're just filming stuff because it's fun and it's cool, or maybe you're specifically being paid to film something and you need to capture a specific subject. The 5-inch drone is, I think, becoming less necessary. Or you could potentially say we're able to put more capable cameras on the 5-inch drone. So again, I'm not saying it's obsolete per se, but when we look at something like the, just as an example here, the Beta FPV Pavo Pico 2, you've got that 04 air unit on there. And let's see, and if I recall correctly, yeah, so they're saying 04 and 04 Pro compatibility, and they have this really cool system in concept. I haven't tried this in person, but I like the idea of it, where you can just swap out the top mount, and that's all your camera stuff in there. So what I'm getting at here is I think it's interesting because you've got Cinewhoops. So like we were just talking about Tiny Whoops. That's kind of the name for very small indoor quadcopters that have ducted or guarded propellers. Very small, very lightweight. They do look a lot like this guy, but this one's a little bit bigger than a Tiny Whoop. But now I wonder about Cinewhoops, because Cinewhoops previously have been, that was, I can't remember the time frame, but the idea was that smaller drones became more popular, and so the sorry, I got distracted. Hang on, we got a question. Oh, that's is that a question? Hang on. Let me get to this because I don't want to just be like monologuing here and ignore you guys. So over on YouTube, Flying Butter says there was a time 5-inch was the small drone. Yes, that's very true, Flying Butter. ArcNet on YouTube says I am building my own 7 flight controller. Would love to do a collaboration with you to finalize the design and get some input. I am just heading into work, so DM me and we can chat then. Yeah, or wait, is that on YouTube too? Or I mean, sorry, that is on YouTube. There's no DM on YouTube, so that sounds interesting. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know that I would be able to like help you that much with flight controller design, but that sounds intriguing. So, if you feel like I could be useful somehow, send me an email, adam@RCwithAdam.com. That's my email, and but I'll try to get back to you. There's no DM on YouTube, but maybe on Instagram. Send me a message on Instagram. But I appreciate the offer though, and we have a question over on Instagram. So let me get back to that before I go on my monologue here. So Adaclin Coaster over on Instagram says, "Yo, I have a question. Is it safe to make a connector for Tiny Whoop batteries so you can use two 300 milliamp hour packs as a 600 milliamp hour pack using the connector? I have a bit of a battery problem. I can't find big packs. I am running 300 packs for an 80 millimeter Whoop. LOL. So wanted to know if I could combine them." Yes, basically, you would just be running. You'd be running them in parallel. So I'm not sure if there are like connectors like that like to buy available. And it depends on the kind of connector that you're using, like the actual, the whether it's like a BT2 or it's probably a BT2 or an XT30 or JST or whatever. Yeah, I think like that should be fine. You just need to make sure that both of the battery packs are of a similar voltage. So like you wouldn't want to have one that's like fully charged and then one that's like halfway charged and then connect them, because unless you have some kind of like a electrical what am I thinking of here? Unless you have some way of them not feeding into each other, which you wouldn't have that if you're just soldering the connector together. But yeah, basically yes, I've done that at least. So, but do so at your own risk. Your mileage may vary, but that's what I would do. Probably would be to just solder. Okay, yeah, he says I can solder two BT 2.0 females to one male BT 2.0 myself. I just wanted to make sure they wouldn't die together. And yes, I will charge them separately and only fly them together. Right. Yeah. I don't see a problem with that. Does anybody else see a problem with that? I don't think so. That should work just fine, because I've used that for some stuff, for like, well, because like big batteries are so expensive, and a lot of times with big batteries you don't use them as much as small batteries. So I think it was, can't remember exactly the setup, but I had a 7-inch and I was running two, like, what was it? It was probably like two 1800 packs or two 215s. I don't remember. Running those in parallel. So the voltage is not double. You just double the amperage. Or I'm sorry, you double the amp hours basically that it's able to deliver. And that kind of is great, because if you don't need a giant battery all the time, it's better that way to have two smaller batteries. So that would be my suggestion, and just test it out, see how it works. But I mean, you are going to have less efficiency than one big battery, and more weight, because you're having connectors, and then you have the two batteries that have two wires and all the stuff that goes around the batteries. So that's just something to keep in mind. But thank you for that question. Yeah. Awesome. We got a good question over on Instagram. That was fun. Oh boy. All right, so back to what I was talking about with talking about drones getting smaller, basically. So as Flying Butter pointed out, yes, there was a time when 5-inch was the small drone, and then it kind of just became the gold standard, and then it sort of had this symbiotic, I think that's the word, relationship with GoPro action cameras, and it just kind of, I guess it was a good fit together, you know. But then at some point, the drone technology got better, and people were doing more filming with FPV drones. So like, whoa, we could like film stuff with the FPV drone instead of like just ripping around and stuff. So we could use these for filming things, commercials, TV, videos, you know, stuff like that. So then people were putting GoPros and then sometimes stripped down GoPros on 3-inch drones and, you know, various propeller sizes, but 3-inch was, I think, the most common. And using ducted propellers. So basically the Cinewhoop was gosh, who was it that made up the first Cinewhoop? That was I'm blanking out here, but it was like a very specialty drone. It had TPU ducted propeller guards, and it actually worked like ducts because the props were like cutting into the ducts to get like a really tight fit. So that was like, whoa, amazing for a while. But then and for I think quite a while, that was kind of like the standard if you were doing like sort of, well, cinewhooping, meaning you have a small drone like a tiny whoop, but it's for cinematic flying. So like for filming. So that's then that kind of became the standard of like, oh, you have like a 3-inch drone with ducted or guarded propellers, and it carries a GoPro. But the thing is that so like that's better than a 5-inch in that particular case. But now I think it's like you don't even need to carry a GoPro. You might not even need to carry a the GoPro. What do they call that GoPro? Was it the Bones, or it was like the tiniest stripped down GoPro. Well, there's a tiny whoops. That's like what we were talking about. Whoa. Let's go over to GoPro real quick. But anyway, I think you get what I'm getting at here is that now I think Cinewhoops, which used to be like the 3-inch range, they were how much did they weigh? Probably like maybe like 300 to 400 grams, roughly. Sometimes more, depending on the battery and stuff. Because the weight wasn't as much of a concern because you didn't need to be super agile. So I'm on the GoPro website. We looked at this previously. I can't find the old one. They must have gotten rid of it. But it was the stripped down one. I can't remember what it was called. It was like the Hero Air or the Hero Light or something like that. But now they have this one, the Lit Hero. That's kind of dumb. I think it's kind of dumb. Well, I mean, okay, maybe I'm just old or something, but I don't care for the name. It's confusing, but also they're basically just like, hey, we put a light on the GoPro, like so it's lighter, it's better than in that regard, perhaps than another one. It looks like it's a built-in battery, I think. But that can come with other problems too. So anyway, what I'm getting at here is there are lighter. Even the GoPro is getting lighter too in some cases. But you really don't need, depending on your situation, probably most of the time, you really don't need a GoPro quality. You know, honestly, a lot of times, like if you're doing stuff where people are gonna be watching it on their phone, you don't even need 4K quality. Now you would want to use 4K because you want to have more, where you can adjust your image more, have more control over that in the post production side of things. But yeah, I mean, we're looking, I think you're seeing this on the GoPro, I'm sorry, DJI O4 Air Unit website examples here. I mean, and then it looks like built-in multiple stabilization modes with Rocksteady. Go back with Rocksteady. Even high-speed flights maintain steady capture. It's compatible with the GyroFlow software. Yeah, that's right. And I believe the O3 is too, because I remember doing that. So, and then you have GyroFlow, which is stabilizing the footage super well. And it used to be that GoPro was kind of like the best at that, like with their gosh, what was it called? It was called Real Steady, wasn't it? That's yeah, it was Real Steady. And then I think GoPro bought Real Steady. And then I think they, then they like integrated it into the GoPro, which sometimes that backfires on you if you're trying to do that in real time. So typically post production is the best way to stabilize it. But then that's like a whole other workflow thing, and so that's kind of lame. But so basically, my thinking is, hey, something like the Pavo Pico, or maybe the Pavo 20 or whatever, something very small would be even better for this, because then you're getting lighter, you're getting better flight times, um, just potentially safer to fly. You may be meeting certain weight restrictions or whatever. It doesn't sound, it's not super duper loud. It's not intimidating. If you do crash it into something, you're crashing less weight into something. But as I've said previously, I hope you guys aren't getting sick of me saying this, but I think the future is 360 drones. So the 360 camera built into a drone so that you don't even see the drone when you're editing the footage. And you're literally flying the camera, the 360 camera, through space. So that's where I think we're headed with that. And I would take a little bit more weight to be able to do the 360 camera stuff, because then as the pilot, you can just concentrate on flying, and you fly from this spot to this spot, or you fly so that you're next to something if you're like flying next to a boat or whatever, or somebody. But you don't have to be like totally locked in, focused on them, like you are the camera operator and the drone operator at the same time, because that is very hard. And my apologies, I've been ignoring you over on Instagram. Adiclin Coaster says, I rip Cinewhoops, the Pavo Femto Pico, like a 5-inch, and it's so much fun. So yes, and yes, it was a naked GoPro. Yes, I can't remember. There was a production version. I know that's what people would call it when they would take apart the GoPros. That it was called a naked GoPro, but I don't remember what the production version was called. I want to say it was called the Bones, the Hero 10 Bones or something. But now the Hero 10 is like a long ways away, because we're up to, what are we up to? We're up to 13. Oh, it was higher, but yeah, up to 13. So, yep. So all those things. So, okay, rant over for now. Yeah, Kasha's me. Welcome to you to on the YouTube chat. Says they put a light on it to say it's lighter. Yeah, or to say that it's lit. It's litter, which just seems just silly, because they have. So they wait a minute. So they have the lit hero, and then they have the hero. I think I missed that one. So this is the hero. Why? So now they're calling this the hero, and they're saying that it's tiny. All right, so that's the big thing for this one. All right, so I'm glad I didn't miss that one. They're saying it's 86 grams. Okay. It's funny though, because they're saying it's 86 grams, like for people who really care about the weight, but like, is it actually light enough? Is it still like good enough? And honestly, I still wish the actual camera part was in the middle. Don't you? Don't you wish that it was? Don't you wish that it was lined up with the actual thing that it's mounted on? Kind of seems like that would make sense, but it's got the built-in mounting fingers, which I don't know if that's going to really save you any weight if you're talking about a drone, so you'd probably want to take those off if you're really going to save weight. It is kind of convenient, though. Of course, DJI, they've got their action cameras. At this point, I think I would maybe rather go with the DJI action camera as opposed to this one. So 86 grams. It looks like it's basically the same as the other one, except it doesn't have a light on it. Which just makes me wonder, like, why would they bother to do that? Why would they bother making, like, basically the same thing, but this one has a light? It's on a keychain. How cute is that? Maybe it is. Maybe it is pretty tiny, but what do they say? How much do they say it weighs? Text back. 93 grams. So 86 grams to 93 grams. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that might, still be a good option depending on what you need. A lot of that stuff is that once you get into, like, I think what a lot of people don't think about or don't realize with drones and camera stuff and flying to film stuff is basically like the drone guys concentrate on the drone stuff and then the video guys concentrate on the video stuff. And to do both, it's a lot because there are so many technical aspects to each of those disciplines, if you will. So that's a lot. Cautious Me says, and good morning to you, Adam. Good morning. Welcome once again. Flying Butter says, for 5-inch action camera, I like the Osmo better than GoPro. Let's see. And Hoverfish, welcome to YouTube. Says I think it's supposed to be the Thumb 2 is like half the weight and price. Is that what you're saying? The Thumb 2? You know what? We're actually kind of over time, but let me go take a look at this. So this was the, what's it called? The Thumb 2 camera. What's that? Is the Run Cam. The Run Cam Thumb 2. Oh, did they come out with a 2 already? I think I have the original thumb camera, and I've never flown it. Maybe I should give it away. Maybe. I either need to just use it or give it away because it's just burning a hole in my soul. Because it's another one of those things that I bought because I was totally sure that I needed it right then. And then I haven't used it. So that makes me kind of sad. Let me check. Hey, there it is. Yeah. Hey, look at that. Look at that. Let's see here. Yeah. So if this is what you're talking about, the RunCam Thumb 2, it is like half the weight. Is that a USB-C port on there? Show me. Don't you hate it when they show you like a bunch of different pictures of like basically the same angle? Stable as rock, clear as mirror. Clear as mirror. Thumb 2 takes you soaring through the clouds. Just not legally. No, just kidding. I hate to bring up boring like legal rules, but that's just what comes to mind when, you hear these. But anyway. Oh, it lights up. Man, this thing does look pretty awesome. Dang. Does it have a battery? 27 grams. Okay. 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 ND filters. Okay. Right. I'm on board with that. Yeah. Yeah. Remote recording. Okay. So you can connect to the flight controller. I like it. There's an app. There's a RunCam app. Okay. And apps can be a pain, but that might work. So it has a Type-C connector. The other one has a 3D printed mount. I mean, I see quite a bit of jello in some of this. This is not, yeah, I mean, this is not up to my standards for like professional use, but then again, that's kind of a specific look there. So does it have an onboard battery? That 27 grams. No, it looks like it does not, but that's why it's so darn lightweight. So basically, 27 grams. Well, so here's the thing. Kevin Smith says, "Let nothing burn a hole in your soul." Thank you for that encouragement, Kevin. Cautious Me says 27 grams versus 90-ish gram GoPro. It's a lot lighter. So yeah, it is a lot lighter, but then you get into quality. And so we're going to end on this, that basically then you get into the whole thing of like, okay, well, what about the quality? Like, what's the quality worth? And then the question you have to ask yourself is, how good a quality do you need? Do you just want to do this so you can show people like, I ripped around and I did this cool thing? Or you're not like, what is the point basically? Is the point really high quality? Is that what you're going for? Or are you going for just like capability, I guess? So for example, maybe your drone is more capable because you're able to put this on there and carry it on a teeny tiny little tiny whoop, like this guy, except not like that guy because that has the 04 Pro. But one of these guys, one of these tiny little drones. But then again, you run into the thing of, well, if you're using the DJI 04 Air unit and it takes really great recorded video, why bother with the RunCam thumb? But again, that's kind of a different situation because you might want to do the RunCam thumb when you don't need an FPV camera, or maybe you're doing, maybe you want to mount the RunCam thumb on the tail of an RC aircraft, or like on a Scorpion style mount, like on this guy. Yeah, like on this guy. I had the go-to on there, but this, I had always meant to run the thumb and wire it in because the go-to has a terrible battery and it also starts and stops inconsistently. So it's awful. Maybe I'll give that one away. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for joining me, everybody. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I think we answered everything over on Instagram. Thanks for hanging out. Love the questions. Keep them coming. That's going to do it. Be sure to check out the YouTube side. We got the giveaway going on. We're going to have 12 giveaway videos. So go check that out. Enter into those. I think that's it. I will see you most likely tomorrow. Same time, same place, 11 a.m. Eastern here on YouTube and Instagram. Happy New Year, everybody. Go out there, fly something, build something, print something. And I'll see you on the next one. It'll be fun.